Hi there, I'm Robert Spetta. This is Rio Spetta, and we are Breezy Banter. How you doing today, Rio?
Oh, great.
Yeah?
You?
Eh, you know, living my best life. I'm here with you, and that's what makes my life the best life.
Hmm.
You know who else we have here today? A lot of times people ask me, what do you think about the PAGASA weather forecasters? And I always, I try my best to defend them. They are doing the best they can out there, considering the Philippines is one of the most hit areas in the world for tropical systems. And I mean, what
Yeah.
was the reputation for PAGASA for you growing up?
Honestly?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so you kind of get the
Hmm.
gist here, and they still kind of had that reputation, but they got new
Yeah.
forecasters in there that are doing a fantastic
Yeah,
job.
I think they gotten really better.
Yeah, they're,
Yeah.
they're, they're changing things around. So we
Yeah.
have Benison Estrella. He's a meteorologist with Pegaso, kind of the face of Pegaso, one of the faces. He
Hmm.
does online, he does a lot of broadcasting, and everything. So, without further ado, I got myself and Real here and Benison. So let's have a nice talk with him.
All right, so we have Benison here. He's from Pagasa, and we're just kind of going to go through and talk to you about why you are the way you are, which is absolutely awesome, but also about Pagasa,
Yeah.
the workings of it, and why not some just other questions a bunch of the viewers kind of wrote in as well. Benison Estrella. I'm saying it right. Am I
Yes,
saying it right
you're
now?
finally saying it right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
That's a lot of people always just comment about how I pronounce things. You just told me the other day I was saying Kagayan wrong.
Yeah.
Did I say it right that time?
Nah, that's okay.
Thanks. I appreciate
Hmm.
that. I'm trying here.
Yeah.
All right, so Benson, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your position at Pagasa because I know that I actually about a week ago I put out a little feeler and I said, hey, if you could talk to a Pagasa meteorologist, what questions would you ask? And I got hundreds of replies. So first off, tell me who you are and your position there and everything.
So I'm Benison, but most people call me Benny. I am from Quezon Province, which is like 4 hours away from Manila, and I am a weather specialist too of Pagasa. I was promoted like 4 years ago, and most of my job is all about being a weather forecaster. We make the weather forecast, and then we disseminate it to the public, and I am one of the weather broadcasters as well. So you may see me in the live updates of Pagasa every 5 in the morning, and yeah, that's about it. My background: I took a Bachelor of Science in Electronics Engineering in my hometown, and then took up my master's degree in the United Kingdom, master's degree in Applied Meteorology and Climate with Management, University of Reading.
Oh, well, I have a question about that though. So you said you were engineering. How did you went from that to like, okay, I want to do the weather? Like, what what changed?
Yes, I mean that was a drastic change because from engineering going to meteorology, there's a lot of things that you have to consider. You have to learn from scratch, and my classmate from college is already a climatologist in Pagasa before I got to Pagasa. So I was a trainee. I applied for like a hydrologist training course. So that's a different one, right? Hydrologist is about flood forecasting. But then again, after the hydrologist training course, when I finished it, there was actually this issue in Pagasa wherein many of the weather forecasters have gone to several places abroad and worked there. So it's like a brain drain issue there at that time, 2013, I think. So the vacancies in the weather forecasting section were filled by us, the hydrologist trainees. So I was the one who luckily got that slot and become a weather forecaster in 2014.
That was actually something I was going to ask about. I was going to touch on it in just a bit. It was kind of on my list here of if that is something that Picasso was having problems with about some forecasters going abroad. And I guess that was an issue. What, like 10 years ago? Do you still have kind of that problem over there?
Oh, we're not having any problems with that anymore.
No,
Yeah,
good.
that's good.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
good because I have noticed that, and I think we've talked about this in the past. maybe like 10, 15 years ago, there was a little bit of that brain drain, but it feels like a new a new influx of meteorologists that have worked their way in there. And every time somebody kind of does a little, and we'll get this elephant in the room, because if people do like to knock on PAGASA, and every time somebody does, I say, maybe I would have stood by you 20 years ago, but now there's this new influx of the fantastic meteorologists in there who are doing a great job. And you're basically like you're your own typhoon center, local weather forecasting center, just a bunch of stuff like that. And just kind of putting that out there. I think you guys are doing a great job. But let's talk more about. So you now what province did you say you grew up in? Again?
Quezon. Do you know where Quezon is?
All right. Yes. Just outside. Oh, it's not terribly close to Manila. You said about 4-hour drive. So yeah, it's on Luzon.
Yeah.
And I guess what inspired you when you were younger, growing up? You said you were an engineer, but did you have a fascination in meteorology at any time, like while you were a kid?
Yes, I have. When I was like in elementary, um, Quezon is, as you know, is rainy most of the time because we are in the eastern side of southern Luzon, and we are often visited by tropical cyclones. We may experience like one or two every year. So we cannot help but talk about weather. And so we always tune into the weather channel or no, the weather forecast of ABS. And I could always see like this prominent weather broadcaster figure in his name is Ernie Baron, and he's
Yeah,
very
I
famous
know
at that
that.
time in the
Yeah.
90s. Um, I'm pretty sure she knows about that. So
Yeah,
Is that the guy who always wore like the cowboy hat?
no,
Oh,
no,
I might
it's
think of
Kuya
somebody
Kim.
else.
that's yeah. I remember him because my mom would always joke like, "Oh, that's your dad." Yeah.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten that before, Benson? Benny?
Like we're watching it because it's your dad. I'm like,
Not at all.
okay, sure, mom. Hmm.
Her dad was quite often out to sea, so like, he was a sailor. So, oh goodness, that's a terrible. The last conversation we had was about how your mom played a practical joke on you during a Mount Pinatubo eruption and told you it was snowing. So, yeah, that's she just had all sorts of fun with you when you were a child.
Yeah, and you know.
So you're a child, growing up province, and you went out. Now, there was one other thing you dropped right in there. You got your degree in the UK.
Yes, I have. In 2017 to 2018, I was there in the UK.
What specific university did you
University
go
of Reading. It's like in the southern portion, like an hour away from London.
Nice.
Nice. And then you came back here, and I think I first started seeing you on well, you weren't originally on PAGASA. With the broadcasting portions. Can you tell me how you because before you started broadcasting, PAGASA didn't really have a TV kind of situation. Everything was just kind of posted online. Can you tell me how that evolved a little bit?
Yes, I can remember that because that was like in 2015, wherein the public is like requesting for the weather for PAGASA to have like weather broadcasters in order for the weather broadcast or weather forecast to be understood more easily and more reach out to the public. That's why they trained the weather forecasters, including me during that time, to be trained to speak to the public and report about our weather forecast. And so you may notice that we are not as good as as the weather broadcasters that you see, like you, especially you. But over time, you can see some improvements, I hope. So
I think that especially, I mean, it is my job to be kind of the broadcast. I think from a governmental perspective, though, it is rare
it's
to
difficult.
have governmental meteorologists giving not only TV broadcasts, but pretty decent ones. Because I've seen even the National Weather Service, do a fantastic job in the United States. But when they do like their TV level stuff, it's just a guy with his phone like kind of pointing at the screen. So I think you guys are kind of leading the way from a governmental perspective in that sense.
Yes, we're kind of trying it now, and we have a new studio right now. That's why it's becoming a little bit more sophisticated over time. We just need to improve our graphics because we're still using the PowerPoint presentation, as you noticed.
Well, if you did you guys were using Weathersscape for a little while, weren't
We
you?
have, yes. That was like before the pandemic, 2018 to 2020,
Mm,
and then it stopped right there.
shout out to Weathersscape. They sponsor my
Wow.
graphics
Yes,
as
yes.
well. So
You have
you
been
know,
using it. Yes.
the Pagasa once using them. Pretty good stuff. It's a nice little graphic package, and it always looks kind of professional. Let's see some of the other questions here I wanted to ask you. Actually, going back to you're going to university and everything. What is some of the advice you might have to anybody that does want to get into maybe not even just meteorology, but let's say I'm young, growing up in the Philippines, and I want to work at PAGASA. I want to be the next Benny.
Wow.
What would
Yeah.
be your advice be to them?
No pressure. Wow. Well, all I can say is that you just have to venture into the STEM. We call that the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, like lane. You can go into engineering. You can go take up BS in chemistry, biology, anything that is related to science and technology and mathematics and engineering. And then right after taking your Bachelor of Science degree, then you can proceed to train in PAGASA. You can either go to PAGASA to get trained for a meteorologist training course, which is good for 11 months, and then afterwards you can get hired as a weather specialist of Pagasa. Or the second option is you take up your master's degree in meteorology. So you're finally getting into the meteorology field, and then afterwards you can apply to Pagasa as well as a weather specialist.
So that weather specialist training, is that something Pagasa will pay for if you showed up and you're like, I want to do this, and will they kind of train you and then you become a meteorologist, or is that something you kind of have to sign up for?
Pagasa is opening the application, and then anyone who is qualified in that training course will have to take a an exam, an examination. So not
Mm,
everyone's gonna get it. It's like around 50 slots before you get to be a trainee. So out of
yeah.
hundreds, it's kind of a bit difficult unless you have reviewed.
Huh. But I mean, at least there is kind of that avenue for somebody that may not be able to afford to be able to get to a master's degree or something like that. That
Yeah.
if they do want to work in the field, would that be right?
Yes, and the master's degree is about 2 years. So this one, at least,
Mm.
you will have to finish it in like 11 months.
Yeah. That's faster.
And
Yeah.
it's free.
It's faster, but I'm sure it's probably a condensed course that's like get through that. That was kind of like what training in the military was.
Well,
It was a 4 year course crammed down in about less than a year, and it was like you will do this now. Go and make sure we don't drop bombs in the wrong spot.
mm,
Mm.
We have something like
Sounds
that
like
in the
fun.
in the US, like a training course, a short course for meteorology.
That was just for like the military because they in the military they didn't want to get too much into the research. It was more of an operational type of thing, and the military actually does function at a very efficient level when it comes to training because they want to get you out there. So it's like you take all the courses at the same time in a very quick way, and then with me, I got my degree by taking some extra courses like the calculus and all that stuff after the
Okay.
fact. So they do kind of have that, and there's some certificate level stuff that's a little bit less than a degree that you can use, but yeah, it's really reserved to like the military. The government doesn't sponsor that. In fact, the National Weather Service jobs that you have to have all your calculus and all that the really like kind of heavy courses to be able to work with them.
mm,
Hey, just also, not just on Gasa's level here, but you have your YouTube channel, which I was just looking for through here recently. You got some good stuff on there. It's good editing. Can you just tell people about that?
yeah.
I haven't touched on my YouTube channel for a while. I have been doing short videos. If you may notice, I had shorts in there, talking about the weather still, and I'm planning to do a more content. Well, one of these contents is interviewing you. Um, coming very
That's it.
soon.
That's the one that's going to put you
Excited
on the
for
moon.
that.
Oh,
And
boy.
then some more weather stuff, maybe a bit of like traveling stuff because I also am into traveling, and
Mhm.
inspiring more younger generations to venture into meteorology.
So if I'm going to take a vacation to the Philippines, where's the number one spot you recommend me to go?
Sorry,
Because you said you're into traveling. So if I'm taking a vacation here, what's the number one spot you recommend me to go?
Palawan.
Oh yeah, see, this one's still going.
Have you been there?
I'm thinking about going to
Oh,
Siargao here
Siargao. I
maybe in the
haven't been
spring
there
over
yet.
to the summer. It's after Odette, a lot of people just started talking to me from that area because it got absolutely destroyed during it. And come to find out, it's actually a really, really nice spot. It's like the next Bali, apparently.
Yeah,
So
they were very resilient.
Yeah.
That's why it's like there were a bit traces of Odette, but still, they have improved a lot from since
yeah,
2021.
right.
Yeah.
It is amazing how some communities bounce back, and then some other ones will just give
Yeah,
up.
they rebuild really quick.
That's something I've noticed
Yeah.
in the Philippines that it people build it back real quick. They're like, "Yep, all right, I'm gonna build it back up." Because in the States, yeah, there are some communities that build back quick, but there are some times where like a community will get hit, and it's
I
just
mean,
like,
I heard Katrina is still.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Not-
whole parts of New Orleans is
It's
just
not right.
it's just
They
they just
haven't-
leveled it, and they just were like, "Yeah, all right,
Okay,
we're
that's
washing
it.
our hands of this."
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's not a whole case of the
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
city, but it is kind of parts of it just they gave up on it.
Yeah.
Because I noticed like 10 years later, Toploban absolutely looks fantastic now. They just built a whole new roadway in there and everything, and it's looking pretty good. So, hey, shout out to that. So I guess so if you get in there with PAGASA, any other skills? Maybe if you want to work on the broadcasting portion, because I noticed everything in PAGASA is spoken in the broadcasting side in Tagalog, right?
Mm.
Is there any options or any thoughts about pushing it over to English or anything? That was actually one of the viewer questions I had.
You mean the skills or well, apart from the live updates, I think we're just trying to improve our apps. We're working on our apps so that they can easily access the public. They can easily access the weather, our weather forecast, and because right now we still have only climate data. You can download the app, but you can only see like the normals, the minimums and the maximum temperatures, but not the actual weather forecast that you can just easily see. So that's a big challenge.
Is there any like plans on maybe putting like push alerts for like severe
Yes.
weather? Like if where I am right now, I'm in B call and I'm pushed to signal force 2. Is there any idea in the future about the app maybe being able to push alert for people?
Yes, we are actually hoping for that as well because the Disaster Risk Reduction Office here in the Philippines are actually notifying the public with like heavy rainfall warnings and stuff. If your area will get like a red or an orange rainfall warning, then you can easily get it. You can easily get notified. So that's what we're also hoping for.
Nice. And that's one thing I actually stress to people a lot. Those rainfall warnings, I think, is something that people need to kind of put a little bit more emphasis on. And not you guys. I think you guys do a great job, but just in general, because I noticed, especially when we get like tropical depressions and stuff, people will ignore it because it's signal force 1. I'm like, yeah, but you're under a red rainfall warning. That's a lot of rain.
Yes, it's actually equally important, if not more important, than tropical cyclone warnings, wind signals rather, because
Mm-hmm.
those experiencing with rains, for example, Mindanao, a short for a short time of heavy rains, you can get flood and landslides. That's why they are highly vulnerable with rainfall.
Hmm. Yeah. And yeah, I guess more on this app. I think that's really cool, and I
Yeah.
hopefully PAGASA kind of, you guys get it out there and it starts to get disseminated to people because I know we're always trying to improve, trying to get information more readily available. I do want to go through kind of some of the viewer questions here with you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Let's pull this up because these are from a few people, and don't worry, I had to decipher a few of them. A bunch of them were actually asking if Pagasa would bring me on as a consultant. So if you ever want to bring the little foreign redhead in and kind of help out with you guys, please let me know.
Okay.
That's a terrible
Wow.
interview right there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pitching myself fantastically.
You hire
I guess so. Here's one that I really liked here. What are some of the tools that are available to the public that people may not know about? For example, like radar data. You were just talking about the app. We're touching on that. But how about like balloon data or anything like that? Yeah, do you guys launch balloons? Is that available? Maybe just kind of give me a quick little run through of maybe some stuff that Pagasa puts out products that you think are not utilized enough, or maybe some people might want to know about.
What immediately comes to mind are the numerical weather predictions that you can see in the website of Pagasa. That's pagasa.dost.gov.ph. You will have this image on the right side wherein you can find the satellite imagery, and at the bottom of that, at the bottom right, you can see a numerical weather prediction option. And once you click on that, you will have access to rainfall data, especially accumulated rainfall, cloud cover, and some other stuff like winds, 850 millibar winds. You get to at least see. But of course, if you're not into, if you have no idea about the numerical weather prediction, then you may have a hard time understanding it. Um, you can at least have some idea of what the rainfall will be, or what rains are you going to get in your area. And apart from that, I we also have this tropical cyclone threat potential forecast. If you know of that, TC threat.
Oh, tell me more about
Yeah.
it.
In the website, under the tropical cyclone tab, you will see the TC threat potential forecast, and you will have an idea for the next 2 weeks if there is a possibility of a tropical cyclone forming within the Philippine area of responsibility.
That's the one that usually it's like a little polygon or something like that.
It's like it's just a sketch of like, yeah.
Yeah, it's usually like say TCWS or something like that.
Yeah, and
Or did I say it right? Tropical
we
cyclone.
trace the origin of the data is from the GFS, I think.
Yeah, that's a great product.
Yeah.
How about weather balloons? You guys launch those?
Sorry, weather
Weather balloons.
weather balloons. I am not sure if the data from the radiosonde is accessible to the public. Yeah,
Hmm.
I doubt
Well,
that. Yeah.
I think from what I've seen, a lot of people would love it if like the 0Z and the 12Z data, just the SKUTs, just were put on the website somewhere for people to be able to access. Granted, we're not looking at photographs or anything from like rotation in the atmosphere, but I think a lot of the weather geeks out there, myself included, so I'm a little bit biased, but people kind of were really curious about that. How about the radar data? I know that Pagasa does have access to all these radars. Um, Sometimes they seem like they're going in and out, though.
True.
What's kind of your experience with it?
True. What you see is actually true. We don't have constant operational data, radar data. So some of our radars are not operational at the moment, while some that are operational doesn't show data constantly. That's a challenge for us because if you check also on the website and you switch the options to the radar mosaic of the whole country, you can see that some areas doesn't have like radar data in it. Only I think the most
Yeah,
operational is
that's
maritime
actually something.
and
And that's something that I've seen. I mean, I know there's the mountains and stuff, so it does make it a bit more difficult. But that would be nice. And I know radars cost money. That's always
Yeah.
that's the big problem. It would be nice to be able to track, especially daytime thunderstorms. Do you find that difficult? Being in kind of a blind spot and trying to put out a warning for a thunderstorm that you're going to have to just basically wait on the Himawari data from the satellite.
yes, we have um, the NCRPRSD, the ones that uh, the main office of PAGASA is located, we have access to the radar data of Tagaytay and Subic, which is very near Manila. And the
Mhm.
forecasters, the rainfall forecasters, can actually see um, the rainfall data or the radar outputs. That's why they can easily determine if they are going to raise thunderstorm advisories or heavy rainfall warnings. But for the other areas of the Philippines, like northern Luzon, especially Visayas and Mindanao, I'm not quite sure. We don't have. I don't get to see it really.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's interesting. Any other products that? Well, I guess you kind of touched on a few of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what would you like to see more? I'm putting you on the spot here, putting you on the hot seat. If you were a weather geek, and let's say money is limitless at Picasso, in theory, let's say it is.
Oh,
What product would you love to see put in there?
yeah. Like what I said earlier, it's the apps. I'm looking forward to the
Hmm.
app so that
Mm.
people will not have to download random apps, or well, some of them are actually very useful, but if they get to use Pag-asa, then of course, and that would be a lot better for us and favorable for us. And apart from that, we also want to improve our way of weather reporting. As you can see, we still are using the PowerPoint presentation, so we want to level it up with Weathersscape or like different graphics, so it'll be more engaging. And we are also looking forward to replying to comments to those,
Hmm.
because Pagasa is not very active in terms of like replying to comments from the public in our pages. We hope
But
we
that
have.
just takes time. I get,
Yeah.
I get
Yeah,
that feeling. It's like, hey, I have warnings to put out here. I know, like, Steve's farm is getting some rain, but you got to look at the map here. But
Mm.
and that also just takes time and resources. Hey, I got another question, a couple other questions here for you. How
sure.
about this is the one, this one
Oh,
right here.
it's always the
Hey,
question.
this was the number one most asked question
Oh,
outside of Hey,
Yeah.
what? Why does Pagasa use different typhoon names than international ones?
So who's asking this? I'm guessing
A lot of the times it is
it's the
foreigners.
foreigners.
I
I
get
knew
it,
it.
but I noticed in the
Mhm.
comment section there was a lot of locals as well, and I think it's because I think with the internet and everything becoming more connected, I've
Mhm.
noticed a lot more Filipinos are asking this question too, because when it's outside of the PAR, they're seeing it called one thing, and
A
then
different one.
and then as soon as it enters the PAR, it gets called a different thing, and there is a level of confusion there. Um, but I maybe the confusion is outweighed by the fact that the name. Anyway, I'm gonna let you tell the story.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna stop. Let the expert tell us about
Mhm.
it. So why is there difference?
well, Pagasa use different names. The local names is what we call it. We have been naming typhoons or tropical cyclones since the mid 1900s. Um, and the reason for that, I must say, is about the big number of tropical cyclones that enter the PAR. Um, on the average, we have 20 tropical cyclones per year, and that's a lot to remember if you are to remember international names. And that's also a lot challenging because it's not in alphabetical order. That's why we resorted into naming them alphabetically, so at least people will have an idea. Oh, it's letter A, so that must have entered like in the first few months of the year. And
Hmm.
if it's
Mm.
like an X or a Y or a T or a U, then at least they have an idea that it entered
I
on
do have to
the
agree with that. I prefer the ABCD.
on the
That's
latter
the
Yeah.
part.
American National Hurricane Center in me that would much appreciates that. Um, yeah, I do wish the international names would kind of go that way because it just kind of they have to share with all the countries, and the reason why it's a hot mess. But go on, go on.
And apart from that, I think it's also about remembering names a lot easier when you're talking
Yeah.
of like Jenny or Kabayan or Ineng.
Yeah.
They are Filipino names, and they are associated with the Philippines. Not just names, but also like names of plants or animals or qualities of the Filipinos, as compared to like Hinamnor or Kamuri or Kalmegi. Those
Remember.
difficult names to be remembered by the Filipinos.
I've said this before. Yeah, what you touched on. Yeah, Philippines gets hit more by any other tropical cyclones in the world, right? Like, so if you want to name them yourself, go for it. You deserve it. If you were a tiny country in the South America that never gets something, and you're like, oh, we're naming our own storms, then I'd be like, all right, get off your throne here. But the Philippines definitely has the right to go ahead and name their own storms, especially since you've been doing it for so long. You said 1900s. This is actually a stat I would be curious about. Was the Philippines naming their typhoons before the Typhoon Committee, the international WMO was? Who was first? Do you know?
I couldn't remember like the names of the tropical cyclone.
Yeah, so with the Typhoon Committee and the international names, because I know like back in like let's say the war, typhoons were named after letters, like Typhoon Cobra, which is a very famous one. It sunk like half the American Seventh Fleet. I'm curious if at that time was the Philippines already naming typhoons.
I think the start was 1948.
Yeah, so they might have been named. And then that's like anytime somebody does ask why the Philippines named them, they're like, why does everybody else? We were first. That's actually I would be very curious to see what the exact dates were. Because if you say 1940,
1948.
Of 48, because I know during the war, the mid 40s, they were still letters. So that's something I'm going to look up. If anybody in the comment watching this back knows the exact answer for that, yeah, that way anytime somebody asks you this question, you can be like, well, let me tell you,
That's really
we were
interesting.
first. Here's one. Has it ever snowed in the Philippines? This is somebody asked. I was like, I mean, I've seen the frost pictures. I mean, Benguet the last few days from when we were recording this has been getting some frost. Has it ever snowed? Like straight up, legit, fluffy,
Like
Santa's coming to town.
Like an inch or so?
Okay, maybe not an inch, but if you went outside and you were like, ooh,
Flurries.
snow, not volcanic ash like what your mom did to you.
Well, I'll let him answer, but I think I remember.
You remember
Hit
snow.
him first.
Okay,
him first.
we'll let him know first. All right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Has it ever snowed? Like real snow? I'm not talking sleet. I'm talking. It's winter time.
At least in our records, we haven't recorded any snow in the Philippines. But we have hail, we have frost. That's all we have.
It's fake snow. All right, what do you remember?
I thought when I was maybe I was like in second grade or first grade. This is in Baguio.
Baguio?
Like you would see it fall and then it melts. But there was like I said, early 90s or late 80s. I can't remember. I was young. That they did say that it snowed, but it would melt every time it touched the ground. So does not count as what you asked. Which is, like I said, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because he's.
But it could have been, like you said, it could have been sleet or something like that.
Yeah.
Ice
Could
pellets.
be, yeah.
But also, you say records. Maybe it did snow, but if it didn't snow at an official site, then maybe it didn't snow officially, but it did. That's just the way that the nature of the beast, I suppose.
Yeah.
There is a station in Baguio, right?
Yeah.
You tell me what year this is. We're going to look it up.
I can't remember.
We're going to go into the archives here.
I was really young because I remember telling my mom, why are we living here? We should be up there. Yeah.
In the snow.
In the mountains.
There are videos of like snowing in the Philippines. If you search in YouTube, there's like snow in the Philippines, but it's not actually in the Philippines.
Oh my
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
goodness.
seen those.
So if we look back, and I'm gonna make sure when we edit this, I'm gonna put this up. There was one where it was like 15 years ago. I think you're thinking of the same one, and the guy got 1 million views on it. Tons of people were writing me, and so what happened after the fact? He wrote me after he got over 1 million views, the creator of this video, and said, "Thank you for trying to debunk my video and sharing it out. It was part of my college course on trying to get a viral social media video."
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, and he said, "I shot this in South Carolina." And it was like, there was like palm trees there, and it was at a hotel in South Carolina. And I was like, oh, that's kind of rare to have snow there at least. But yeah, it was like very obviously America with snow falling. And he said, yeah, and then he just put like a bunch of news banner footage and said it was in the Philippines, and it was for a college project.
Oh no, that's giving
So.
false hope.
Yeah.
Don't believe everything you see on TV, kids. Especially, oh my goodness, I'm sure you've dealt with that a bunch of times. What was it? There was one last year where it was ahead. It was last year, and one of the clips of Tom Sater, fantastic meteorologist from CNN, was talking about Typhoon Yolanda nearing the Philippines. This was in 2023, and this clip was going viral. And people started. Did you remember this? It was like 15 years after the fact, or 10 years, obviously. It would be 10 years after the fact. And this clip's going viral, and everybody's freaking out about it. Guys, there's just nothing out there.
What can you see in the video, rather? Sorry.
Oh, it's just him talking about the cone and everything, and he's giving the weather forecast. But it was for Typhoon Yolanda. But the people edited it in a way that it never said Haiyan or Yolanda on it, and he's just talking like Typhoon's headed toward the Philippines, and the way it was edited, it was like somebody was intentionally trying to mislead people.
No, I have not seen it.
How about this question here for you? What is PAGASA? That's a fun question for you. This one's pretty straight to the point. This is a very bureaucratic answer for you. What is PAGASA, and what branch of government is it under?
PAGASA is the mandated agency of the Philippines that monitors the weather and the weather source per se of the Philippines. So we are mandated, meaning we are under a government agency that is the Department of Science and Technology.
I should have asked that question first.
Or the meaning of PAGASA, of course, is the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration. So apart from the weather part, we also do the astronomy part. And then the geophysical part is about earthquakes and volcanoes, but the PHIVOLCS has separated itself from PAGASA a long time ago.
So you're not like doing volcanic ash alerts, or do you do where does it stop from? There's the people that monitor the volcanoes. Do you do the ash warnings, or do the geology guys do the?
They're the ones issuing the warnings for volcanoes, for earthquakes, the PHIVOLCS, Philippine Volcanology and Seismology.
Oh, I always thought that came out of your guys' office. So that comes from somebody. Oh,
yeah. I remember that.
I learned something today. That's why you're here. I didn't know that. We already kind of touched on this. What qualifications do you need to work at PAGASA? So I'm not going to go back.
Okay.
Oop, that's just a picture of some flooding. That. Yeah. Thank you very much for talking with us. I guess. Let's see if I have any other questions here. I want to utilize our time with him. You got any questions you want to ask him?
I did, but I forgot.
Oh.
So let me think about it.
You are a wonderful co-host. This
I
is
know,
why we keep
I'm
you
terrible.
around. How is your life? So for all of the, I guess the single ladies at home, you got a girlfriend?
I'm not available.
There we go.
go.
I wonder how many. That's what I was saying. I wonder how many people were watch you when you're doing the weather forecast. They're like, that's your dad.
Wait, does PAGASA have like its own channel on like the TV now? Like, like here we have Weather
Yes.
Channel. You just flip it and it's like, oh, there's Weather Channel. So does PAGASA have that now?
Mm.
We are currently not in partnership with any channel, or Pagasa doesn't have its own channel of like all about the weather. But yeah, maybe if we have the funds, then why not?
Mm-hmm.
That would be
That would be
nice.
nice.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, just be able to kind of
Flip
flip
the
through there,
channel,
and
yeah.
there it is. Just maybe a 24-hour streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be somebody talking all the time. Could just be like a satellite loop going,
Yeah.
something like that.
But then again, digital, so everybody's on their phone. So
Mm. Yeah, I guess I would go for the app first. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get in a little forecast territory real quick. What do you think for this year's typhoon season? You guys looked into it or anything like that?
Sorry.
This year's typhoon season. What are your thoughts? I know we're in an El Nino, so maybe below average, but yeah, what would you tell somebody looking ahead for the upcoming season?
This is a rough forecast because it's too far out.
Oh yeah, I'm not looking for
Yeah,
specific numbers or
but-
anything like that.
Knowing that we have like a strong El Nino and we have climate change still ongoing, then it may be a bit more difficult for us to reach that 20 tropical cyclones per year, especially in the first half of the year. Having said that, we may have stronger tropical cyclones. We can have more typhoons and super typhoons, especially in the latter part of the year. And still, most of that, especially in the last quarter, may be landfalling. So that's
Mm.
not that may not be a lot, but in terms of like the intensity of the tropical cyclones, that would be the one that we should look out for.
I guess it only takes one anyway,
Yeah.
so you could have a very, very calm year and just have one big
Yeah.
storm.
it'll be stronger.
Yeah, that's true
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of stronger, has Pagasa ever thought about using the term that we've been working on, the Philippine Sea Effect? If you ever use it, you got to coin it
Philippine.
to the Westpac weather folks.
I'm sorry, what is that?
the Philippine Sea Effect terminology. I've noticed actually, you guys recently have started using shear line a lot more.
Yes.
That term.
We just use it like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We are no longer using the tail end of cold front because we don't experience
Yeah.
cold fronts.
That's actually I got that from this book. Actually, I was using this a lot. I'll be right back.
Oh, that old.
Oh, this old book. I got out of this old book. So this next time I'm in the Philippines and I see you, I have to bring this with me. This book was written in 1985, and it's called the Philippine Forecaster Handbook. It is I just imagine that whoever wrote this book was sitting with a cigarette over top of like a chart, like, do you want to look at it?
Let me
So the
see
writer is
that.
from the
It's
Philippines?
absolutely
Sorry.
falling apart.
Yeah, it is falling apart.
I think it was wrote by some guy maybe in Subic or Clark Air Force Base or something like that. Things absolutely falling apart. Does it have the credits actually in the back? It's definitely military,
Yeah,
and
it's all Navy.
it's absolutely fantastic. And that's where I started getting the shear line terminology. Was off of that. They're like, yeah, it's not quite a cold front, but it has shear. There we go.
Okay.
Oh, next time I'm out there, it's maybe a little outdated, but with warming sea surface temperatures. But
We should
yeah.
have that one.
All right, we'll make sure next time I'm out your way, we'll get some photocopies and I'll get it to you so you can be like, what are these guys talking about in
Yes.
this? All right. Hey, you got anything else you want to add to this? I mean, I think we touched on a lot of it. I guess my number one question is, if anybody's still watching at this point, this far into our conversation, they're really, really interested in wanting to be a meteorologist, especially with Pagasa. What you got any inspiring words, maybe for somebody that just might not, they might be not living in Manila, kind of a more remote area, or anything like that. What do you want them to know if they want to become a meteorologist?
For those like let's say younger generations, maybe Gen Zs, who are interested in meteorology and want to become a weather forecaster, uh, just like what I've said earlier, they need to venture into science and technology. They need to at least be an engineer or like a passer in chemistry or physics. That would be very useful for them as a stepping stone to become a meteorologist, because afterwards you can take up your master's degree in meteorology, or you can take up a training course in PAGASA, which will last for only about a year, and then afterwards you can be hired as either a meteorologist or climatologist or hydrologist, or maybe even an astronomer. You can be any of that when you are in Pagasa, and I'm telling you, the job there is fulfilling at the very least, and you will get compensated. It's not like how it used to be 10 years ago.
Mhm. Actually, we were kind of talking about that. 10 years ago, I saw a job posting for Pagasa that was very
yeah.
not great. It was so you're telling me the salary has come up a bit.
That's good.
Like you can have an affordable living if you do get work there.
I think you will be fine if you have like a small family, and it you will have some benefits. The salary is not like increased remarkably, but the at least the benefits you get from like the night differentials,
And job
the
security.
yeah.
Health insurance and job security are big.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope that you inspire at least some younger folks out there to want to, become a meteorologist.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember that kid from Isabella, maybe?
Mm.
He said he always sends you photos.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him asking things like, what should I take for college? Because I want to be a meteorologist. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I just forgot his name.
And I remember giving him kind of the advice of,
Mhm.
science. He was still in high school.
Yeah.
Also, just don't ever give up on don't ever lose that ambition, because I noticed that once it gets hard, you kind of lose that ambition. I always enjoy it because I know with meteorology, it's especially just weather. If you love it, it never really becomes work. I mean, I'm doing this after my job. You're here hanging out with me, and you don't need to do this with PAGASA because we love weather, we love meteorology, and we love forecasting. I think we were talking about this earlier. How about this? What's your favorite weather-related movie? Is there any good Philippine ones that maybe I should watch?
Interestingly, is I am not aware of any weather-related movies. Or
That's a market we need to break into. If you ever, you should kind of pitch that to some the Hollywood of the Philippines execs.
Well,
at least the ones that I know was a series in Korea, the Forecasting Love and Weather.
Mm-hmm.
If you have heard of it.
Oh, I've seen that one. Yes, but I want a Philippine one. I want
yes.
one that we're gonna cast Maine Mendoza in it, and then we're gonna we're gonna get some of the all Philippine actors, and they're going to be chasing typhoons.
Well, it's gonna be like dramatic and probably a little paranormal. Because I remember.
Oh, it's gonna be there's ghosts in the typhoon.
I remember watching like this TV drama about the storm. It always end up with this person. We're following this person, and it's like, oh yeah, we rode the boat, and then this happened. You know what I mean?
I've seen those.
That's how they always
kind of frame it.
Involve the weather with that.
Yeah, no, I want Twister, but with Filipinos.
You want Sharknado?
I don't want Sharknado, not Sharknado.
Okay.
My goodness. But because what you have, it has all the makings for a good movie. I mean, with Hayan or Yolanda, for example, it has all the makings for a good movie.
Yeah.
and there's so many people that could be cast in it. It would be such a good movie, not only from like a hunter, typhoon hunter perspective, but from like people actually on the ground. All right.
I'm actually thinking of like
Anyway, we're working together on this,
something
all
about
right?
the storm surge in Haiyan, right? Like the
Exactly.
Taluyong. That's the Tagalog translation of storm surge. That would be
Yeah, well,
wow.
somebody needs to write this down. I'm not a writer with, script and stuff, but yeah.
All right. So if we have any Hollywood, what do you call the Philippine Hollywood? What is it? Is there a name for it?
Which one?
Like all your Philippine dramas that you watch, like on TFC and stuff.
Well, it depends on the channels, I think.
Oh,
Like Channel 2 has Papamilya or something.
is that like?
I don't know, Star Magic. I'm not sure. I haven't.
Yeah. All right. Well, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're gonna make this. We're gonna make money off of this, and Benny, you're gonna be the consultant for making sure everything is 100% accurate. All right.
Sure. Even though I wasn't in PAGASA
I'm gonna be your
in 2013.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll watch it. I will watch that movie. I will be there in the theaters. That sounds like a good one. But I did see the K-pop one. I forgot what it was about. It was like for love and weather. It was about a weather forecaster.
Forecasting love and weather. It's like these two meteorologists falling in love.
See, it's always gonna be.
It's
like
always
that,
people just
though.
falling in love. Okay, so if for our movie about Yolanda, we do have to have two people meeting and falling in love, like what they did with the Titanic. We're gonna have two star-crossed lovers that meet in Tacloban the day before the typhoon hits, and then the typhoon hits, and
they get
they
separated?
they get washed out, and one person's
no.
on the. Yeah.
That's
How it is. That's how it is. And then they love each other forever after that.
They survived.
Yeah, because it always has to have that,
Yeah. So this is it. It's going to be a romantic, suspenseful
Tragedy.
documentary.
Yeah,
Oh, and you said there's got to be paranormal in it too.
yeah.
Oh, so like
Just
Jesus shows
scared.
up at some point and helps them out. All right. I love the writers' room here. I love where this little discussion has gone just a bit. Before I let you go, I have one more question for you. You got a little kitty there? I hear a cat.
Yes, but you don't want to see what they're doing. It's like a male
no.
and a female, and they're
Oh no!
so
Oh, I thought it was our cat.
Oh no! It's coming from over. It could be our cat. These mics are very sensitive.
do
but
they
I
have
think
also
it's-
cats?
Yeah, we got 3 of them, which
We also have 3 here.
they're roaming around.
Mhm.
Our last podcast, they kind of just hopped right up here on the desk, and we're just kind of chilling. So but today we remembered to shut the doors. All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much
Robert,
for
and, thank you.
thanks for spending some time with us here, and I appreciate it. If anybody has any questions or anything you want to ask him, please just put it down in the comment box, and he's gonna read it, or I'll read it. I'll let him know.
Yeah.
Thanks for also just doing what you do. I sincerely mean it. You guys are doing a fantastic job at PAGASA. Of course, it is your job, but there's been growing pains, I suppose, from where it was decades ago to where it is now.
definitely.
Yeah. And it that takes extra work and extra motivation, because you guys could have just kept it the status quo. But the fact that you keep on expanding and trying to, what's the term? 0 casualty for every storm, or I forgot what it's called.
Is there? I'm not sure, but
Well, anyways,
Yeah.
that's something we do want. So I guess
we
so.
should just use the password.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Robert.
All right.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So a big thanks for Benison for sitting down and talking with us. And thanks for watching Breezy Banter. If you have any questions or anything like that, of course, let us know. You got any other questions?
No.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I mean, it was a long talk.
Yeah.
If you watched all the way to the end, thank you very much. We were just going back and forth for a while here. So
Yeah. I mean, I had a little fun because I did have questions when I was growing up.
go
Yeah,
straight to the
answer.
source.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and I hope you all stay safe out there. Bye.